Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to this Monday's webinar. My name is Nathaniel Wright, and I am the Economic Forecast Director here at Home Seekers. As many of us know, there's been some news by the central bank that is going to change the course of this year, and I am here to stop the sky from falling, so to speak. So again, I'm Nathaniel Wright, and without further ado, we are going to get started. So first, we are going to talk about what has actually happened with the Central Bank of the Federal Reserve. They just announced that the Canadian currency has appreciated over the US currency for the first time in 20 years, and this is going to put some downward pressure on home sales. And as many of us know, in our line of work, there is a big positive relationship between home demand and our success, so to speak. So, but first, let's talk about what is going to happen with the central bank. Specifically, there is going to be tariffs and taxations, which are going to create trade barriers from Canada all the way down to the US with regard to the Canadian softwood lumber that America needs to satisfy the full demand of home sales. So, I understand that there's growing concern within the company that massive layoffs are coming, which is typical in our industry. However, I am here to remind everyone about our three core prong value that sets our organization apart in the first place. And so we are going to take a look at those three core values. However, I'm reminded about a story of C.J. Walker, who was a prominent banker and one of the first mayors of Long Beach, who started his bank, Farmers and Merchants Bank, and operated throughout the Depression, in which there were many bank runs. Walking into his office, he was faced with a bank full of customers in which he took 500 gold bars, stacked them on the teller windows, and professed his strength to the public, in which he was able to curtail that run. Well, I am actually here to profess our strength, just like C.J. Walker at Home Seekers, that we have initiated a no layoff policy within the company for the following reasons. Number one, we feel all of our employees should be well employed through any type of downturn, upturn, whether it be a political climate, economic environment, or mismanagement within the company. We feel is that our employees that do a very well job should not be troubled with having to find work. So one of the things that we do believe is that we want to keep all of our employees employed and gainfully employed as well. Now, that is the first core value. Our second core value reminds me of a story that took place between a famous CEO and CFO, in which the CEO calls the CFO and says, "What if we train our employees and they leave?" Well, the CFO looks and says to him with a sharp reply and says, "What if we don't train them and they stay?" So here at Home Seekers, we actually have set aside a fund. And you're probably wondering what 10% has to do with anything. Well, in all actuality, we are taking 10% of our net profits and actually dedicating that every year to a fund that actually supplies fresh funds every year for employees to develop their skill sets. So if you want to climb up in the company, there's two routes for you to go. We have internal training, which we bring in experts and specialists, and we also have traditional schooling, university, city colleges, which we will cover those costs with no reimbursement. And even if you leave the company, we still won't go after you after the funds with no reimbursement clauses, as we pride ourselves on birthing and incubating industry leaders, whether or not they actually work for us. So that's the second core value that I like to remind you all of, so that way we can prevent the sky from falling. And I also want to remind everyone of our third core value, which is you and your future. So every year, we're going to calculate 5% of your net annual income and put that into an investment account for your retirement. Every year, annually, for the entire employment of your time here. What does that mean? Well, it means that you don't have to match said funds. 5% will go in every year, just like clockwork in January. You also have the option of actually adding to it. So if you want to go 10% a year, feel free. The day you feel that you shouldn't be here anymore and you'd like to leave, you can take your funds with you, no questions asked. So, in the end, I'd like to summarize our core values: company strength, employee development, and your future. I hope that these 3 values puts everyone at ease, and that we have taken the fiduciary responsibility and loyalty to each and one of every one of you. So I wish you folks a great weekend, and we'll reconvene next week for next week's briefing. Signing out. Take care.